Join us as artist David Behrens describes the inspiration behind his oil, Visions of Valor.
Hello, I'm David Behrens. Today I'd like to share a story of a painting that I've created called Visions of Valor. Visions of Valor still to this day remains, to me, one of my most significant paintings because it highlights part of U.S. history that changed everything. And what I'm speaking of, what I painted, is a story detailing the heroic acts of the Navajo code talkers. So in World War One, there were some code talkers used. The Comanches were used as code talkers, and there was other native tribes that were used as code talkers, but not to the huge scale that they were used in World War Two. So to give you a time and a place to kind of ground us in the story, um, the year 1924. 1924 was the year in which Native Americans were first granted U.S. citizenship. It when you think about it, it is insulting to say the least that these people who have lived in the Americas for literally tens of thousands of years were finally given U.S. citizenship in 1924. Fast forward from 1924 to 1941 was actually the when World War II started. In World War II, there was a gentleman named Philip Johnson, and Philip Johnson actually came up with the idea that the Navajo language was such a unique language that the Japanese really could not decipher what this language was. So he recruited. There was an original 29 code talkers that were recruited, and they came up with a glossary of over 400 different words. And what's interesting about that is that the 400 words or so, these words were not, Navajos did not have words for military terms in their language. They had no words for tank or helicopter or bomb. So everything was based on metaphor in their language. For example, in my painting, on the top part of the painting, you'll see there's different Navajo words. Well, for example, there's a word beshlo, and beshlo in Navajo are two words put together, iron fish, and iron fish actually means submarine. So this code was refined, perfected, and these original 29 code talkers, Navajo code talkers, um, were courageously volunteered to in World War II to defend their country. Um, it really speaks to the heart of not just these Navajos, but Native people in general. Even though, despite all the broken treaties and the promises that were made um, and disowned by the government, the peace medals that were given out, all their harmful history, they still chose to protect this country with all the ways they were slighted. They still were proud and still wanted to do whatever they could to protect their sacred homeland. So in this painting, you'll see depicted a gentleman to the far left, an older veteran code talker, and his name is Jerry Begay, and I had the privilege of speaking to him. And in speaking to him, I tried to gather not just the words in his stories, but the emotion. And many times he would drift off into pensive thought about his memories. So I tried to paint him in that way. So in the painting, my intention was to paint him kind of looking off into the distance, kind of looking actually outward, but also inward into his own memories. So all around him are swirling around all his memories of World War II, and um, and the incredible bravery that him and his comrades had in in fighting in that war. Um, and then as I was planning this painting, I thought to myself, you know, there's another incredible story that dovetails right into that history. And I was thinking about the incredible image of the raising of the flag at Iwo Jima. Well, actually, one of those gentlemen that raised the flag was a gentleman named Ira Hayes. Ira Hayes was a Pima Indian. And Ira Hayes, his story is is a story that is highly relatable to, in the sense that um, after the harsh war, he struggled. He struggled with so many things. Struggled to keep his mind out of despair, and to deal with the fact of he was a survivor. So his post traumatic stress disorder, before it was ever um, coined as a term, Ira Hayes suffered from that. Um, I remember when I used to do a powwow back 10, 15 years ago, and I did it for many, many years. Well, there's a song by Johnny Cash called The Ballad of Ira Hayes. And I have memories of a gentleman, he was a Yankton Sioux, and he organized the powwow. Well, he was also a storyteller, and he would speak those lyrics about Ira Hayes, and it caused a hush to fall over the crowd. And so that memory has always stayed with me. So I've created this Visions of Valor, not just telling the story of the Navajo Code Talkers, but telling the story of Ira Hayes, because Ira's story is every soldier's story. Um, when I finished the painting, I thought it felt wonderful. It felt good to have this story visual in a visible way to people, because I think visual images draw people into intrigue and into research. And my hope was that it would further um, the curiosity of people, and they would do their own research and that type of thing. Since I've done the painting has been used in many, many different facets. Um, One of the greatest honors of this painting was that just recently, about 6 months ago, I was asked to gift this painting, this framed print of this painting, to a gentleman named Dan Aki. Now, Dan was a Navajo code talker. I think he was 94 years old, and an organization called Red Feather had built up or actually raised the money to repair a house of his that was in disrepair, and raised about $80,000 or $90,000 to really make him a special, comfortable home. Well, anyway, that event, I was invited to go and meet him, and that was really special. Um, and once again, there's irony there. So here is one of the code talkers, and I'm at an event, and maybe there might have been at top 60 to 80 people there. Well, there should have been 60 to 80,000 people there to honor him, but there wasn't. And I think that's really the recurring theme of Native American war veterans and war veterans in general, that they do not receive the well-earned gratitude of U.S. citizens. And that was my intention with this painting, to offer my gratitude to the selfless and brave hearts of these Native American veterans.
You've been watching artist David Behrens describe his inspiration for his oil painting, Visions of Valor. If you're interested in purchasing a gift created by David, you could go online to davidbehrensgallery.com, where you'll find a wide selection of items featuring David's artwork, including mugs, prints, t-shirts, and more. If you find yourself in Albuquerque, head to the historic Old Town area to be transported back in time. The authentic original buildings and local cuisine provide a perfect backdrop for a collection of David's artwork and the unique, hand-picked artwork of local craftsmen. You can find the gallery at 326 San Felipe Street, Northwest 87104. Thank you.